Welcome to Wild. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and one of the things, and I know it doesn't quite rhyme, but I'm going to make it rhyme, that was said on stage that I wrote down that kind of stood out to me was riches in the niches. And we could say niches, I think, if we were saying it appropriately. But why essentially generalists struggle and specialists win in mortgage. And why loan officers, essentially who specialize, often scale faster, serve better, and can stand out bigger. So in a world where every loan officer says they do great service, they answer their phone really quick, they close on time, how do you actually stand out? And we've talked about this in a million different ways, but I really have never covered niches, right? I've never covered specialization and what it can do. And so it's pretty simple. You have to stop trying to be everything to everyone. And I made this mistake for a really long time. And I want to be really careful here. And I want to side note and say, we absolutely should say, yes, I'd love to talk to that client about that. Yes, I'd love that opportunity, but also understand, hey, this isn't something that I'm good at. That's a separate podcast in itself, but understand where your limitations are so that you don't end up with egg on your face, going down a rabbit hole that's costing you countless prospecting and opportunities over here because you're trying to get this one thing through that you're really not the pro's pro. I assimilate that with a heart surgeon deciding to do a foot surgery for no reason, just not other than to make money potentially. That's not the right thing. On this topic, niches, when you really think about why you would choose specialization, why would you focus in very specific areas? If you're a loan officer without a clear niche, this really hopefully is a wake-up call for you that can change your business. When we operate as broad generic provider, yes, we all do conventional FHA, USDA, VA, and now we could add on there jumbo, non-QM, right? Depending on our areas. And that versatility absolutely matters for growth, right? It matters for differentiation, it drives momentum, but the market often rewards experts. And when people think of, if you think about it, some companies have built their entire company on a niche alone. And you think about United, Veterans United, you think about USAA, very focused on VA loans. Now, some of them actually do other types of financing, others strictly VA, if you will. Divorce mortgage planning. I'm a divorce mortgage planning specialist. I make myself stand out so that there is a mnemonic that says, hey, if you think divorce and you think anything mortgage and divorce, whether it's attorneys, it's clients, it's anybody, they're going, Robin Lavasser is the name that you should assimilate with. First-time homebuyer. A lot of people make themselves first-time homebuyer specialists. Now, here's the hard part of that first-time homebuyer. Not always, but there are times when those are more work and people have to be very aware of what they're committing to, if you will. For a long time, I did a lot of credit repair. It wasn't a terrible thing, but the payout to credit repair is a further in the distance. And what it did was that it actually, unfortunately, blocked me off because I wasn't talking about anything else other than credit repair. And so I felt like that's all I was getting. That was a programming problem. I can be a pro at credit repair and talk about other products and other things, but keep circling every so often back to credit repair and being the pro's pro while still talking about all the other things. I made a mistake for a long time of only talking about one thing. What are other niches we could discuss? Self-employed borrowers, great niche. Think about it. Hey, all people struggling to get financing because they are self-employed, I'm your person. And then every week, every vlog, everything that you do, you essentially are talking about how you solved a problem in self-employed, how you know a trick, how you fix something, how you helped somebody, what you do and how you do it without all the details to make you the professional in that space. New construction, investor strategies, credit repair, physician loans, Spanish speaking, women-led wealth building. There are so many things that people should think. I'm now thinking about you whenever I think about these. That's rhyming with the niche, right? So people refer to specialists far faster than a generalist. I watch my daughter-in-law, and she has been doing a lot of blonde. And she's a new hairdresser, and she's only had her license now for a couple years, a little less than that actually. And who does she do some beautiful hair? I mean, absolutely incredible. And she really specializes in blonde and in extensions. She does an incredible job. And people from all over have called her and a majority of her page, she almost never shows a redhead, almost never shows a brunette, almost never shows black hair, and almost never has a short haircut. Everything is very focused. Now, by chance, she is also a beautiful blonde she's really specializing in it, and it is attracting so many clients from all over that says, when I think beautiful long blonde hair, I think about going to see Caitlin, right? Like, and this is everywhere in the world if you really think about it. And in mortgage, we try to be, I'm just good at my job. I'm very responsive. I'm very fast. I have competitive rates. I have competitive fees. I do all of these things really, really well. Pick me, pick me. But people aren't thinking all of a sudden, oh gosh, I've got clients with a bankruptcy. Who do I know that last talked about bankruptcy and said they were a pro at it? Who do I last know? You know what? I think about Robin for all these other things, and I really like her when I have a general borrower. But when I have a specific VA loan, she's not the one I think of. The other story that I tell frequently is I was asking one of my loan officers who really had honed in with a great real estate team here in town, and he was getting majority of their business. Every week was in their meetings, doing all these things. And I asked him one day, I said, how is it going with that team Z? They're amazing. They put up a ton of units, both in listing and in sales. And he goes, really good. He goes, my capture rate is climbing all the time. And he goes, the only thing I'm not getting is VA. And I was like, why? And he said, well, local competitor here in town, he's a previous vet, and he says he's, a VA specialist. He's all these things. He's really, really basically marketed himself as the VA guru. So they send VAs there. And I said, do me a favor, start talking about VA every single week in those team meetings with the team. And he comes into me about a week later, 2 weeks later, and he says, hey, lo and behold, I got a deal. And it's a VA from one of the buyer's agents. Programming, right? Programming. And so really incredibly important that not only are you spreading your knowledge in all things, right? All things mortgage is one of the things I did, right? All things real estate and lending, just call me. But I got a ton of referrals when I started talking about how good I was at credit repair. When I talked about how good I was at first-time homebuyers, right? Then I elevated and talked a lot about non-contingent sales. I've watched a gal in the market blow up, and I think she's blown up for hard work in a lot of different areas. We don't work at the same company, so I haven't specifically interviewed her, although I'd love to. And she really talks about condos all the time. Why? Because condos have caused a ton of pain for a ton of people in a ton of markets, and it feels like the guidelines are always changing. And so she's dug in, she's become a pro's pro, she's multi-state licensed, and now because of her online presence and how often she talks about condos, she gets massive opportunity and referrals. And here's the stickiness to it. When a realtor she's never worked with, maybe out of state or in state, doesn't really matter, says, you know what, I've got an issue on a condo with my lender, but I see this gal online who nonstop talks about condos. I'm going to DM her. Wait, now we're off to the races on a deal. Turns out she can help. Now we have a transaction with 2 agents as an audience that I can earn future referrals from with my overall processes, all because I wasn't just saying I do home loans. I was saying condo, 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 condo. So I want you to think about how people refer you when they hear very specifically trigger words, right? Reticular activator system, self-employed. Somebody, we're struggling to get financing because we're self-employed. And, our lender said that the way our income shows, and somebody goes, you know what? I know a lender that specializes in self-employed borrowers. You should call Robin. She's incredible with self-employed borrowers. That's far more powerful than I know a loan officer that might be able to help you. Very different. very different in how specifically they can explain me because of what I've been doing and putting out there, not only on social, but on email, on, maybe direct client database videos, all the different things. And so when you are in a niche, you build trust faster. So when you think about that, how, right, borrowers and referral partners alike have a different trust depth, because when you specialize, it signals expertise, it signals confidence, it signals predictability, it signals better solutions, and it also helps you improve yourself as a marketer because your content becomes more dialed, more laser focused, right? It's sharper. Instead of things like rates are changing. Oh, I've heard that from every other lender today. 3 things self-employed borrowers need to know before filing for their 2026 returns. Now, all of a sudden, I'm a specialist, and specialty often can convert more, which is a huge win. Niches also increase referral velocity. Velocity, right? We love that word. Realtors, CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors, builders all want to go to actual experts. If you think about it, most industries specialize. You'll find even in real estate, someone will say, I'm the luxury home specialist. I'm country property and acreage specialist. People want to go to experts. It doesn't mean they don't list a house in town from time to time, right? In attorneys, I'm a trust attorney, HR law attorney, I'm a divorce attorney, I'm a bankruptcy attorney. They're not, I'm an attorney, period, and I study all things. Same with doctors, right? Same with dentists. If you really think about it, professionals often hone in and say, this is exactly what I am focused on. And that makes you more memorable. So how do you choose your niche? Ask yourself, what loans do I love most? Where do I naturally win? Who do I connect with the best? What borrower profile needs me most in my area, right? Condos for Oregon, in Eugene, Oregon specifically, there's just not that many of them. So I wouldn't become a condo connoisseur, if you will. Big cities have a lot more entrepreneurs. So you might focus in that self-employed range. You might focus in the condo range. Hey, I'm right by the Air Force Base, or I'm right by, anything military based. I'm going to get hyper focused in the VA world in specialization, right? Where is there an underserved opportunity? Maybe it is that first time home buyer, or maybe you have a lot of, like, I live heavily in a retirement community. Maybe it's Arizona, right? You have a lot of snowbirds, if you will, retirement community. So you might focus on the non-contingent and the move down buyer, right? The downsizing, the simpler life, or the lifestyle type of loans that you would use. Hey, we do a lot of, I'm in a college town, which means investment properties. I might hyper focus in the non-strategist, right? In D loans, and become the expert in that area. There's not a right or a wrong decision, and one doesn't disqualify you from being a true expert in the others. It's about how you market, how you focus, and really how you exude when you're choosing passion, profit, expertise, and then also being aware of the demand in your area. So a niche does not mean exclusion. It means you can still do any type of loan. Remember that. But your niche becomes a brand magnet. It gets attention, it earns referrals, and it scales trust for you. You do not need more competition. You need more distinction. I'm going to say that again. You don't need more competition. You need distinction. In today's market, being known beats being available. And being a knower, if you will make a huge difference. And so take action on this. Define what your niche is, and then define who your ideal partner is in referrals, who your borrower is going to be, your strongest loan product, how you're going to kind of white glove label things, and then your market differentiator. And then what do I want to be known for right now? And make sure that you're not marketing just broadly, that you're building authority deeply. And I promise you, your business will absolutely transform. If this was helpful, I hope that you share it. We will see you on the next Wild.